Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining our Signworld public webinar today. For those of you who have maybe not attended one of these or watched a previous recording, I'm just going to give a quick introduction to what to expect over the course of this next hour. First, we're going to have each of our owners who are panelists joining our call today introduce themselves. They'll share a little bit about where they're located, years in business, a little bit about their operation and their background, just so you have a better understanding of who they are. And then we turn the floor over to our attendees that are live and participating in the session today. I'll introduce or I'll ask you to come off of mute one by one. I'll call you out by name. And if you could just keep your question to one question, if time permits, we'll go around for another group of questions until the hour has expired. Each of the owners will give an individual response and give you some insights to your questions that you have today. So with that said, let's first introduce you to our panelists who are our owners today. And I always like to go in some random order. Today I'm going to go ladies first because we do have a lady panelist on our panel today. Pam, go ahead and come off of mute and introduce yourself to the group where you're located and a little bit about your business, please.
Sorry, couldn't find my mouse. Hi, I'm Pam Anastasi. I own Signcraft Solutions. We're located in Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is right outside of Raleigh. We have been in business for 16 years. I have been at Signcraft for 11 years, but my partner and I purchased it a little over 2 years ago. So it's been in all aspects of ownership and non-ownership, and don't know what else. I guess that's it.
Yeah, so if you can tell us a little bit about the size of your operation, number of employees, maybe your 2026 sales target, top customers, just a little bit more would be great, Pam, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Yeah, sure. We have 20 employees. We just hired our 20th one. She starts next week. Um, we have just over 3 million in sales, and that was our last year, and we hope to exceed that this year. Um, what else?
Top customer project, something you've done in the last 12 months, biggest order,
Um,
biggest customer.
we actually had our biggest customer last year. We actually have a team down in South Carolina right now for installation for the first deployment, and it was a job. I can't tell you the customer because but it's a data center, and it was almost a $600,000 job for that one customer.
Awesome. And what did you do before you started working at Signcraft, Pam? What's your background?
My background was actually in marketing and communications for a shopping center developer.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, let's go to our next tenured owner. Nick, why don't you go ahead and give yourself an introduction to the group here today? You're on mute still, Nick. Sorry, you'll need to unmute yourself first.
Sorry
There you
about
go.
that. My name is Nick Marchetti. Company is AMI Signs, and we're located in Frederick, Maryland, which is north of Washington, D.C. Been in business, well, I started in 2017. That's when we first got our place. Went to the training, did all that fun stuff. Our original facility was 2,500 square feet. We just about a year and a half ago moved into our new 7,500 square foot facility. A little bit bigger than we needed at the time, but we've already filled it up. So um, we actually sublease one of the offices and a little bit of the warehouse to a customer of ours. So that was an unexpected little bonus. We have 6 employees, and our revenue target for this year is 1.75 million. Our biggest customer, well, we have a couple of large national clients, one of which is Lowe's Pro Supply. That's the commercial side of Lowe's. And we're doing it anywhere from the last couple of years, we've done $200,000 to $300,000 with them. The first year was about 600. And we have another large company. I can't share the name, but they are a specialty school, and they operate nationwide. They have They've been on an acquisition roll. They've been buying competitors. So we're in the middle of doing about 20 new locations for them across the country. So last year we did signs in, I think it was 28 different states.
Mm.
Prior to being in the sign business, I spent 10 years at Visa. I ran the commercial payments division. And then prior to that, I was at General Electric for almost 15 years, running the supply chain network.
It's great. So you tripled your size and you already filled it, huh? It's amazing how that space can get taken up very quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure we can fit more in if we were a little more efficient, but it's
Yeah.
nice. We actually
Awesome.
had one day the other day, last week, we had 4 vehicles in there at once being worked on. So,
Yeah, that's nice to have that space for sure.
yeah.
All right, very good. Let's go to our last owner for an introduction. Ron, go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and where you're located for the group today.
Yeah, afternoon. Is my audio working?
Sure is. Can hear you loud
Okay,
and clear.
great. My name is Ron Martin. I own South Lake Signs. We're just north of Tampa, Florida. We opened the doors October of 2023, and this year's projected revenue, we're targeting 750,000 for this year. We've got a 3,500 square foot warehouse, so half is warehouse and half is office slash shop space with drop ceiling in it. I've got 2 full-time employees. I contract out all my installation, so we're not doing any installation in-house. So I got about 4 1099 contractors, and I also use SignPack, which is a sign industry specific design group that we contract with them to help with design work. So use them as kind of a control valve on capacity for my in-house designer. Um, and let's see, biggest customers that we have. Sorry. No.
You're good.
Yep. Biggest customers. So we're starting in calendar year 3 for 2026, right? So been working on relationships over the first couple of years, and came into it without existing relationships that could flow into signage. I think you'll see, and maybe some perspectives you see that have relationships with business corporations that can get you right off the ground running with good sizable contracts. That's amazing. We didn't have that, so been working on relationships, and going into this year, have been doing signage work for a really international contractor with the government. They do post-production parts on jet engines for all commercial airliners. So doing a couple sites so far, and hoping to continue to build the relationship for national projects. Also have a really good relationship that we've developed with the senior living facility. They're also national. We've started out with install onlys in Tampa area, and now we've got a production and installation of ADA sign package in Phoenix, Arizona, coming up in a couple weeks, and then Boise, Idaho after that, and then a couple more coming here in Tampa. So building those relationships, those are definitely key customers that we're trying to develop similar ICP profiles for related customers. Background and career. So I was in disability insurance for like 26 years prior to this, running operations for I was worked for 3 different major insurance carriers, running their claim operations for disability insurance. Had like 7 or 8 claim teams that I was responsible for, probably 90 people all in my line of responsibility. So I think
Very
I hit
good.
everything. Any
You
questions?
did great. Well done. Well done. Thanks, Ron. Jack, do you want to do a quick introduction to yourself to the group?
Yeah, I'm Jack Werner. I joined Signworld in 1995. Ran my operation for 10 years. Then sold it, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but our founder, former president, came to me and said he needed a retirement plan. He didn't have an heir, so I joined him, kind of a partnership arrangement to learn his end of the business, finished buying him out in 2014. I became the president owner of Signworld for the next 10 years until 2 years ago when I passed off to Jeannie and Dan. So now I work for my kids. I'm still around to help in any way I can, but they see where the future is going, and better to have them carry it to the next level. So when I answer questions today, if it speaks to how we train and support, I can speak there. If it goes more to general population, I can speak there.
Very good. Thanks for being here today, Jack. All right, now the fun begins. We're going to turn the floor over to our participants who have joined today. We do have quite a group online here, so I will ask you to please keep it to one question each time. I'm sure others might ask questions that you're interested in too. So with that said, Jim, you were logged in first. Go ahead and tell the group where you're located and go ahead with a question for them to answer today.
All right, can you hear me? It looks
Sure
like my
can.
audio is working. Yeah, I'm Jim. I'm in South Central Pennsylvania, just in Lancaster County, and had an introductory phone call last week with Dan and thought that this might be something interesting. But what I found interesting was after the introductory call, driving around, I noticed two sign shops and a Signs First truck somewhere, and it's like, the stuff that's invisible to you when it's not in your mind. So my question is, how would I evaluate the competition here and evaluate the opportunities, the market that I would be serving as far as potentials?
Great question right out of the bat. I love it. Competition. Let's hit the big one right away. So owners, when you first, let's think back to before you chose to move forward with Signworld. What did you think about competition back then? How did you get it past that concern? And then what do you think about your competitors today? So I'm going to go in reverse order and let Ron answer first since he's our newest or youngest owner. Ron, what do you think about competition and how do you think about it today?
Am I also the youngest? I don't know that I'm the youngest here.
I'm not going by age. I'm going years in business. I don't like to test fate on my memory of how old everyone is. So,
Yeah. So, great question. And second part of my answer will be a live scenario that just happened literally an hour before this call. So, but going into the industry, right, I was also concerned with it and did a lot of exploring, internet and walking through doors and, meeting sign companies. And I quickly saw that there's different niches of sign industry out there, which is good and bad. And there's also a level of owner that's out there, right? So you'll run into, I would say the major type of owners you run into is a guy that's been doing signs since he was 18 years old, and he can build a sign. He knows everything about signs, but he's running it out of his garage or if he's running out of his truck and doesn't know the business side of it well and doesn't really care about the business or the customer side of it well. That's a major pocket of sign business around me. The other side of it is, doing $30 million major projects, $30 million annual revenue. They're going after businesses that, have $300,000 plus projects recurring, right? So I became comfortable with, I talked to one owner and, we talked about all the different sign companies in the Tampa area and what 1% of that revenue looks like, and that's the growth opportunity with just having 1% of the market is ridiculous, right? So there's all kinds of opportunities. Second side of mine, I just dropped off my vehicle at the shop, and their next door neighbor is an Alpha Graphics sign company that's going into our industrial park that we are right here. Part of it, we're doing the permitting and installation of the sign for Alpha Graphics. But also, so I went and met them today for the first time. And, they're focused on print, business card, promotional items. And he even said to me, I don't want to be in the sign business. I want to be in doing business cards, envelopes, menus, things like that, which is fantastic, right? Because that's not what I want to focus on for my business. So more times than not, you get in these conversations with people that are in the sign industry, and it results in a relationship and a partnership and an opportunity to collaborate, right? And we're going to sit down after he gets in and talk about what he does in house, what he doesn't want to do. Same for myself, and what are the opportunities to work together? And that happens 9 times out of 10.
Well, great, detailed answer there. Thanks, Ron. Nick, let's talk about your perspective and if you can expand, you mentioned that you're doing business or have projects in 28 states. So it's not just your current market where you're located that you have opportunities, but talk about, yourself compared to your competition and how you feel the market is as far as a business owner overall.
Okay, well, I'm in a pretty large market. We are north of DC and west of Baltimore. So when I was in your seats, I was doing the same thing, and there's no shortage of sign companies. We have in and around Baltimore, there's a handful of very, very large sign companies. In Frederick alone, there's three that are in their 50-year time frame. So very, very well established. But there's also, a handful of guys like us, right, that are starting at the beginning and growing. So back in the day when I was looking at this, I actually was running a softball organization and we needed 10 banners for our teams. So I called all the sign companies in the area and asked for a quote, and not a single one of them called me back. Not a single one of them answered the phone, and no one even called me back. So I kind of knew that the bar was pretty low, right? At least that was my initial impression. Having done it for 8, 9 years, there's plenty of competition out there, but there's plenty of business for everyone. We have a couple of the larger sign companies in the area that did our install work for the first 6 or 7 years, and I've built solid relationships with them. I've since purchased my own bucket truck, but as a real-time example, it went down last week, and we're having problems getting some parts. So my first call was to Airport View Signs across town, and he's doing an install for me on Friday and got a couple quotes in for him today. So I found that you just have to become friends with them and try to be business partners. They make signs for us. We do install work for them. They hate vinyl, so we do a lot of their vinyl installs. And then we have some that really don't want to talk to us. We have a few guys that just aren't interested. They see us as competitors, and they'd rather not even, say hi. It'd be nice. So be it. There's plenty of work out there. On the national stage, I wish I knew how to get more of them, but they both of my large national clients started locally. And you do one, you do a good job, you get their second location, you do a good job. One of my clients actually we did about 8 locations, 2 here, and then we did Boston. And the nice thing about Signworld is the network is real. So I can pick up the phone, call a Signworld owner in Boston and Philadelphia, just about anywhere, have a chat about the project, send them the information. And most of the time they're easy to work with, and they provide an estimate and they execute the work at the same level that we would do. Occasionally I have to go outside the network. I've worked with a couple of fast signs and others, and some are good and some are not. It's a little more of a crapshoot. And then sometimes the owners, they just kind of step out of the way and give me their information, give me the contact information for their installers. And I just work directly with their installers. So the network is real. I've used it extensively for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's really helped us grow. We probably do close to probably 40% of our revenue outside the area.
Very good. Thank you for that detailed response. Pam, looking to get more than 3 million this next year. Why does competition buy from you? I know back in the day when the Signcraft started, you weren't the original owner, but how do you view competition and why do you think people buy from you?
I will reiterate what Ron and Nick said. We get constantly calls. People say, "You're the only one that called me back. You're the only one that emailed me back." Showing up makes 90% of the sale. For us, when we started, there weren't many sign companies in our area, and now they're starting to grow because the area is growing so much and the demand is 100% out there. I mean, we can't. I'd love to say we could do everybody's signs, but it's impossible. But the network that we have with Signworld, and we do the same thing, that we have other Signworld shops around us and they have different machines than we do. And sometimes we do things for them and sometimes they do things for us, or we need an install. We work in Florida and Virginia, and same thing. I call Signworld companies up there, ship it to them. They install it for us. So for our local competition, kind of the same thing that Ron was saying, make friends with them. There is enough business, I think, to go around, and we don't want to do everything. I don't want to do the promo items. I don't want to do the banners for the parades. Some people do, and that's great. They can do that. I will say in the beginning, I don't think we turned anything away. We wanted to do everything we could do to bring money in the door. Now we can be a little bit more selective and hone in our craft a little bit more, but there are still things out there that sign companies around us do that we don't, and we just try to make sure that we know what that is. And most of the time, our customers, I think, are grateful when I say, I can't help you, but I can send you to someone who can. And I think that helps build a relationship. And they've oftentimes even come back for other things just because we started a trust at the beginning. But, answering the phone, answering the phones, showing up when you're supposed to show up. I think a lot of people think of us like contractors in a way we are. And, they'll say, oh, I've been waiting for a plumber and they keep canceling or they don't show up. And, when the sign people show up, they're like, oh my God, you're actually here. You're on time. So that is huge for us. It's the relationships, whether it's with competition or customers. The relationship, I think, is what makes or breaks a sign company.
Very good. Thank you for that. Jack, anything to add?
No, go on to the next question. It's been well answered.
Yep, perfect. All right, let's go to our next participant for a question. Habib, if you can take yourself off of mute, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with a question for them.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So I did my introductory call, last week. Potential, I guess, owner here in the future here. I'm from the Chicagoland area in the western suburbs of Chicagoland. My question to you all is more around that, networking and marketing that first year, how to get started, right? So, Ron, I know you mentioned this as well, but, not having those contacts there, what were you doing to really get those things rolling and business coming in that first year, right? I guess to me, it's what worked well from a networking and marketing perspective. And, how long was it until you got that first order?
Love it. You guys are hitting home runs with these questions today. How do you get your initial customers? What was the key activities that you did and how long did it take? Let's start, we'll go a little out of order now. Nick, let's start with you first. Go back to the beginning and share what worked for you for getting your initial customers.
What's worked for me then is still working for me now, and it's networking. So in the early days, I joined a BNI group, which is a networking group that meets weekly. I joined all the chambers. I think within the first 6 months, I was in 5 different networking groups. And that's all I did. I didn't have anything else to do because we just started. So being out of the office was the best thing for me. Now, I'm a little bit old school in that back in the day, I had a website, but I didn't spend any money on internet marketing. And really to this date, we haven't had a lot of success with the Google ad campaigns and things. We're refreshing our website right now. I'm actually, after this call, have a meeting on that, and we're gonna go after more aggressively the internet marketing this year in 2026. But right now, 85% of our business comes from referrals. So we're going to continue to do that even when we invest in the internet marketing. I have 3 networking events tomorrow. So that has been very successful for me, and I'll continue to build my business that way.
Very good. Pam, how about you? How do you acquire new customers? I know you've been in business for quite some time and the internet wasn't a thing so much back then when you first started, but what do you think is the key to success of attracting new customers for you?
Network, 100%. Find the groups that work for you. For us, we have 2 chambers that are very active, and we spend a lot of time networking with our chambers. We get a lot of referrals from chamber members, from people that we meet through the networking. And absolutely, I think that's one of the best things you can do. Social media is pretty big, but website as well. We don't do a lot of paid advertising online, but we do have a company that manages our website, and they help with social media posts and things like that. So we've just started doing that actually about within the last 6 months. And they do blogs and things like that. So I think that that's helped. We're starting to see some traction from that. But definitely, the relationships that we make through networking and being in the community, being part of events, charity events and things like that that happen in the community. It's, easy for us to do a few Coro signs for a golf tournament or something and put your logo on them. So everything we can do to put our logo on it, we do it. And really just try to be good community partners, growing that way.
Very good. Ron, our newest owner, internet's a thing these days. How did you get your initial customers and what blend of networking and internet do you do to drive that traffic?
Yep. So I got my step one of all of my business work was get my website up and running. Before I even had equipment, I think I was still signing a lease on the building. Website, getting it up and running, and paid ads immediately was priority one for me. And then I went through it was almost a year process of going to different networks, checking them out, and I was very critical of making sure that I'm in the right room. I didn't want to be. There's a lot of networks that are either retirees selling candles, right? Is kind of the example I give, or realtors, or just not the groups that I want to focus on, right? And it took me a while of visiting all kinds of BNIs and NPIs, and is it NPI? Forget the term for it. It's the BNI knockoff, and then just making connections. But through that networking exploration, I was building relationships and talking about my business, but they were also talking about you should go to connect with this kind of network. You should look at this network, right? So quite a big exploration. The other thing that I did was pretty fun was I had my designer look at the businesses. We kind of did like a 2-mile radius, and then we kept opening up the circle. Any businesses in that area that he would do a Google search, and we'd look at them, assess them. Is that a business that we could possibly have a relationship with? And we printed off their logo on vinyl, and dropped off my business card, a little flyer, and a pack of their logos, just to say hi. And I built a decent amount of initial relationships out of that. People go nuts when they see their logo, and for free, just here you go. So that was really fun, and it helped me, especially locally, build relationships with people and get my name out there. But and then but anybody I'm talking to, especially early on, they're going to hear about what I'm doing and the business I'm in, and even out to dinner. My wife was starting to roll her eyes at me eventually. Are you serious? Can we not just go to dinner? Do we have to talk to everybody around about sign business? But you know, conversations, building relationships.
That's right. Get your name out there loud and proud. I love it. All right, let's go on to our next question here for today. Nick, if I can ask you to come off of mute, tell the group where you're located, and go ahead with the question for them to answer.
Hi, yeah, I think I'm the only Nick on here, so hopefully it was the right one you were looking at.
It is. You're good.
Thanks. So I currently looking at Signworld. I am not really from the industry, so it's brand new to me. So this is maybe a question for some of the other folks on the call that are sort of entering into a um, new genre, new industry. But what was sort of the biggest learning curve you had coming into this, like the signage industry, and what was sort of the biggest eye-opening moment, or the moment where you decided that you could make it in this industry?
Well, let's see if they've had that aha moment. You never know. All right. Let's see. Learning curve, and when do you feel like you got the right home for you? Pam, let's start with you.
Oh, that's a good question. Learning curve. I did not come from this industry either. Probably the biggest learning curve is the materials and everything that goes into making a sign. So I thought, oh, it's a sign. How hard could that be? Holy cow. So yeah, there's a lot that, every little screw is accounted for. So that was a big learning curve, was just actually what they are and different kinds of signs. Probably the aha moment was for us when my partner and I, when the previous owners were talking about retirement, and we were like, can we do this? We think we can do this. We know a little bit about it. We got a handle on the operations and the sales, and okay, it's not rocket science. Um, it's a fun industry. Certainly, it's always changing, and every day is different. And that's probably the thing that I love about. I fell in love with it, with the sign industry, is it's truly um, fun. It's great to create things, and I can't remember if it was Nick or Ron, but you drive down the road with your family and you're like, we did that sign, look at that car or whatever. In the airport taking pictures of signs. I'm on the cruise taking pictures of all the signs on the cruise ship because I'm like, this is so cool. We need to learn how to make this. So it's just kind of one of those things. I think it just gets in your blood. And if you like to create and see what you have, it's almost like you're leaving a legacy all over town. Um, so I don't know. A lot of aha moments and a lot of learning for sure. And every day is learning because the industry is constantly changing as well.
Yeah, great response there. Ron, how about you? What's your thoughts?
I look forward to the day that I'm not on the learning curve anymore. um, and like right now, we are really focused on process and procedures, and as our revenue increases, the pain points of how unorganized or inefficient we are comes to bear. So we're doing a lot of work on that. But so going back to starting in the business, and when did I start feeling comfortable? I remember about 6 months in, those initial conversations about signs early on, completely oblivious. But I remember it was probably about 6 months in, I was talking to a customer about a new sign. I think there were channel letters, and I was like listening to myself, and I'm like, I wouldn't have been saying what I'm saying right now and giving you direction and advice just a couple months ago. So you pick it up quick, but it's one of those, you get to this level of learning, and another door opens of oh good Lord, there's a whole nother level of detail that you've got to figure out at some aspect of it. So
And when did you have the aha moment?
I would say about of when I knew this was right.
Hmm.
I mean, I've never had doubt. This is probably the hardest work I've done in learning, but I enjoy it every day. And um, there's there's never been a moment of, was this right? literally. So.
That's great. All right, Nick, how about you? Learning curve and aha moments.
For me, the learning curve is continuing. I think we learn new materials, we learn new sign types every day. As Pam said, every day is a little different. You might have your day scheduled out, and guess what? It's not going to happen that way. And so I think from the very beginning, I knew I could sell this stuff. It's not rocket science. And one of the things I realized early on was that most of the people you're talking to have even less understanding of it than you do. People don't just buy signs, they buy them when they need one, but it's not like a strategic. For most companies, it's not, everyday signs, it's not strategic. Some of the larger companies, they have major sign programs, and that's different. But so I don't know. I think my biggest challenge was on the people side. I came from large corporations, and I had a lot of people that worked for me, but never. I don't know, the hourly workers. There's just there was a different mentality for me, and I still, is probably to this day, is my biggest struggle, is on the personnel side versus the actual sign side. Learning signs, I made my first hire was kind of, at the time they were saying, get a number 2 guy that's been in there for like 3-4 years. I got a number 1 guy. I took him from another sign company. He had 15 years experience, and it kind of gave me immediate confidence to go out and sell. And I felt like we could deliver. So I didn't really have an aha moment at the beginning. I think that I'm learning to say no, and that has become a big aha moment for me. And that is, it's hard to say no, but you got to learn what you're good at and what you're not good at. And I've been in many projects where all I wanted to do is get out, get over it and get out, and not do anything like that again. And then there's the opposite happens. And we've had projects where I was kind of nervous and it went smoothly, and we'll do more of those. So it's an ever-changing industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Great responses there. Jack, any additional comments?
Just a real quick one, Nick. In 38 years, no one joining Signworld had sign experience. We're not looking for that. We're looking for your customer relationship skills, your scheduling skills, your multitasking skills, that's what we're looking for. We're taking business people and teaching them how to run a sign company, competing against the guys that know how to make a sign but don't know how to run a business.
Great. Additional comments there. Thank you, Jack. All right, I'm going to start playing in the background some pictures. There's no audio to it. We'll continue with the questions and keep talking, but there's 3 different slideshows. One's kind of showing some of our operations and some pictures of their facilities, where they're located. Another one is about in-house work versus outsourced production, especially in the beginning, what you can make in-house versus what you'll have someone else make for you. And then the third one are just kind of the Hall of Fame sign projects, just some additional creative projects that we're going to showcase. Again, we'll continue with questions. So for my next participant, Tom, if you can come off of mute, tell the group where you're located, and go ahead with the question for them to answer.
Good morning, folks. Thomas Sayers. I'm currently out of Massachusetts right now, and we're exploring an acquisition in Greenville, South Carolina area. And I guess one of the things I'm interested in is any folks that have gone from outsourcing to insourcing, and how that affected your margins. And then if you were starting over today, I'm looking to stand up a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility and fill it with manufacturing equipment. Signs plus, we're going to get some EDM equipment in and some other more advanced manufacturing that we will apply to manufacturing and more. We're looking to stand up an engineering services product development department that will do signs and then plus more. Basically, is there anything, any piece of equipment or process changes that once you got into it, that you found could have accelerated your growth faster? if you were acquiring equipment, is there anything that you missed that you think, looking back now, that could have accelerated an opportunity for yourself? And that's kind of why I'm looking to build it big and put everything in it, so I have options to build anything. But anybody have experience that can answer that question? Those questions.
All right. So I got a two-part question. In-source, outsource, and change in margins. So if you have a grasp of what your margins look like, and if you did acquire additional equipment to do it in-house, how that changed your margins, that'd be great. And then any piece of equipment that you think would be a game changer for a new owner to think about bringing on if they wanted to expand their equipment. Let's see. I'm going to start with Nick first. Nick, I know you've expanded your operation with some additional equipment. Talk a little bit about your margins overall.
So actually, I have inside the shop, I have the same equipment I started with. My major investment was bucket truck.
Mm-hmm.
And we built an install business. And so we do our own. First thing is we brought our own installs back in house. I wish I would have done it sooner rather than later, but it gives you the control back that I think you need, being able to work with your customers. We still outsource some of the installs. We still have to rent lifts sometimes, and depending on where we're going. But I would say we handle 85–90% of our install work ourselves now. So that's where my investment went. My facility, I picked a large facility, 7,500 square feet. That's pretty good size. And it's mainly for vehicles. And we pushed our vehicle wrap and graphics business for a couple of years. And we have vehicles in every day. And we have 4 bays now, so we do fill it from time to time. But that's been our main focus. I've evaluated other equipment. I'm probably going to buy a second HP printer this year, but it's probably going to be the 700 or 800 series versus the flatbed hybrid model that we saw. And we do a lot of install work for national sign companies, shipping work into this area, mostly large chains that we do the install. So that's the way I've driven it. I really, besides picking up another printer this year, I probably won't look at any other equipment. I do evaluate at least once a year how much we outsource and how much we spend with letters, etc. For example, who's someone you meet on your tour. But we've been working with them for going on 9–10 years, and yeah, we probably can do it less expensive in house. I could have bought a couple of routers by now, but with the equipment, you also need the people to run the equipment, and then if you get a router, you need a paint booth. So once you start down that path, you kind of got to go down the path. I've chosen not to. I guess we're probably a hybrid model.
Okay, very good. Ron, I'll save Pam for last, since I know they've expanded a lot more over the years with equipment. So let's go to you, Ron, next. Have you expanded beyond the initial equipment? And maybe you can speak a little bit to the margin question, if what does it cost to do it in-house versus outsource versus if you brought it in-house?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I've got the standard package, so 700 printer, plotter, and then the table laminator for the package. So, and I don't have plans for additional equipment at this point. I think if I were to expand my scope of control, it would probably be bringing in non-permitted installation work. It'd probably be the next step on the radar, and possibly, end of year, beginning of next year target. So yeah, the in-house stuff is much larger margin and much better control. But there's also, when we're outsourcing projects, they're usually a $30,000 or plus project versus the in-house being, $2 to $5,000, right? So there's a margin, but there's also just straight cash and revenue related to in-house versus outsourced projects.
So if you had the space and the money to do it, what's the one piece of equipment that you think could be a game changer to growth?
So my philosophy is my business needs to be able to support the machine, right? So even if I had the money for a CNC router or a laser cutter, something like that, yeah, I could use it for projects, but it wouldn't be running full time, right? So I have a hard time justifying, and like Nick was saying, looking what your outsourced numbers are, but I have a hard time justifying at this point bringing in major equipment because of all the ancillary costs around it. And then I walk through the door and it's running, 30% of the time. I don't want to bring something in until I feel confident that we're running the thing, easily 70, 80% of the time.
Okay, very good. Pam, you've expanded a lot there at Signcraft with additional equipment. Talk to us a little bit about that journey, and if there's one piece that you think is a game changer, what would that be?
Oh, 100% flatbed printer. That was the first purchase that Matt and I made when we bought the business. Wish we had been able to make it years ago. Efficiency, game changer, huge game changer. We have two lasers, we have CNC, we have two HPs, Grava style. We have everything. So flatbed was kind of the one thing we didn't have. And that has made a huge profitability difference. Mostly it's with time. Instead of printing, laminating, and then applying to a substrate, boom, print it. It's done. One step. Lot less error margin. Bucket truck, when we went in-house with and bought a bucket truck probably about 5 or so years ago, that was a big game changer as well. Like the guy said, you have control over your installs. You can control how they're installed, who installs them. Downside, you do have to have people to run all the equipment that you buy. And there's training. And so, pluses and minuses for everything. But for us, everything we can make in-house, it is more profit. Hands down, you can control it and you make more money. We do not do illuminated signs in-house. We don't have a UL certification, so we do have to outsource those. And to be honest, I have no interest in doing channel letters in-house whatsoever. We feel like we have to kind of pick and choose what we do, and that is one thing that I am very happy to not have to try to figure out how to learn. But there are those people who do it, and I'm very grateful for them. But yeah, for us, I think if we had bought the flatbed sooner, we would have had a higher profit margin a lot sooner.
Okay, all good responses there. Appreciate that. Jack, any additional comments on that one?
No, I think each Signworld owner is different, and that's the path, the journey they choose.
Absolutely, very good. All right, going to go to our last participant for a question. Todd, if you can come off a mute, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with the question for them.
Yeah, I'm Todd Uffins in northern Utah area. Honestly, a lot of my top questions have been asked and answered. I'm an accountant, so I'm going to ask next one down on my list, which is so thinking back to your first 1 and 2 years of operations, hitting your net income goals. Like how long did it take to get there? And were there any unplanned or some expenses that you just weren't aware of that hit you that you wish you would have known about earlier?
Great question. All right, owners, thinking back to the beginning days, did you hit your numbers and were there any unexpected expenses? I'm going to go in reverse order. Pam, I don't know if that's something you feel comfortable talking about because you weren't part of the business back when it started, but when you took it over, were there unexpected expenses that you weren't prepared for? Maybe you can talk about your transition period.
Yeah, so from you're absolutely right from the beginning. I don't know, but I think that the biggest thing is to always plan. There's always going to be unexpected expenses. I mean, for us, we bought a company that was 13 years old, so we bought 13-year-old equipment and trucks and all the things. So yeah, I mean, there's always replacing computers, there's always replacing vehicles and buying tires and all the expenses. I think the one thing that I probably was most, and I continue to be, it's something, if you talk to any sign world or any sign shop owner, figuring out the errors. I think that's probably the biggest expense that we can control, is getting the systems and the processes. I would love to be, 2% error rate instead of 5% errors. But that's part of the industry. And when you do custom signs, we're making things from scratch and things happen. And that's probably the biggest expense that I wish that we could get a better handle on. Because all the equipment stuff is going to wear out. You just have to plan for it. You have to budget for it. You have to know, that computer's 5 years old. It's going to have to be replaced next year. So I don't think we've had any expense that we didn't expect that was coming necessarily, other than just some of the human expenses.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. All right, now we'll go to the two owners who did start from the very beginning from scratch. Ron, let's go to you first. Newest owner on the panel here today. Talk about early profitability and unexpected expenses.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I made strategic decisions that I knew, were financial impacts. One, getting into this location, 3,500 square feet. I didn't need 3,500 square feet, and you pay for the square footage, right? So my rent, a little bit higher than really what I budgeted, but it's 10 minutes away from the house. The building is ideal. It's in really good shape. And it's where I wanted to be. So, I made a financial sacrifice for that. But on top of that, it was a full warehouse. I had to pay for the build out for my office space. So that was a decent upfront expense. But so and then the third thing, I hired my second person ahead of where my financials would suggest to be able to support the growth and to be able to support expansion. So those three were major negative impacts early financially, but I did it from a educated consideration perspective, right? I knew those were impacting my financials, and I was willing to go for a longer period of time before taking any money, right? And it's a very personal decision based on where your money is, where what you want to bring in. But now we're at a place of consistent 20% true net profit starting in calendar year 3. So, I believe I made the right decisions, but it was painful decisions nonetheless early on.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Ron. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, early on, I kind of planned for the need for more capital, and I brought more into the business than advised. And the first 6 months was slow, but we slowly built things, and we were profitable in year 2. Not not wildly profitable, but we were profitable by year 2. And then 3, let's see, what is this, 2026 already? So in 2022, I started looking at bucket trucks, and in 2023 we bought a bucket truck. We hired a 20-year installer to run the bucket truck. I hired a second installer, a young, no experience, but a lot of energy and want to work hard. and they're still with us. And then shortly thereafter, we moved into the new facility. So we went from profitable to unprofitable, and kind of did that on purpose, knowing we were making the investment for the future. And then last year we went back to profitable. So margins aren't great, but we've spent a lot of money. We have a very nice facility. When people come and visit us, like Canon reps and HP reps, and the Grimco guy comes once every couple of months, they always say how nice our office are, and that we're the nicest sign company around, for whatever that's worth, right? But I wanted it to be a much more professional environment than most of the sign companies that you see. So we all wear branded clothes. You feel like you're walking into an office building versus a sign shop. And we wanted that environment. So because of that, I paid probably twice as much rent as most Signworld owners. I've been asking a lot of owners in a lot of different stages how much they pay, and across the country it's all over the place. But we're probably going to, maybe that's something Jack and Jeannie can put on their questionnaire next year. But I'm venture to say, relatively on a square foot basis, we're probably one of the highest out there. But it's a choice I made. And it's, to the extent of I could probably bring on 1.5 more employees if I had a lower rent, equivalent to some of these other folks. But it's a choice I made of how we want to run the business. And we'll be back to we got back to profitability. We'll get to grow the margins this year. Yeah. So you gotta fight through that. I will say that there was one Christmas Eve when I was not enjoying Santa Claus, and I was wondering how I was going to make payroll in January. And you have those moments, but you work through that.
Yeah, the ups and downs of being a business owner, absolutely. Real quick comment, Nick, we do have that survey data from last year, so I'll get that to you after the call here today, so you can compare yourself to the community at large. But you're right, the rents do vary significantly across the country, no question about that. Jack, any comments to that question there?
Todd, you have to plan for the first couple of years. There's no doubt that there's not a business you can look at that's a get rich quick scheme. You have to look at it on a longer level than the first 2 years. First 2 years are important. You got to plan for it, but you got to look at it longer. I'd suggest for you being the accountant, one of the things that we try and do in validation is have you talk to peers that come from similar backgrounds. Talk to some of our former accountants to understand the economics of how it works. And we've got several that would be excellent for you to talk to. So if you work with Dan, have him connect you with some of those guys and be able to understand the numbers better from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got time for maybe one more quick question. So for those joining us here today, if you want to raise your hand or just speak out loud, go ahead with the question. I'll see who goes first. All right, maybe there aren't any more questions. You guys did such a great job. They got all their questions answered. Oh, Habib just came off of mute. You got a question, Habib?
Yeah, I wanted to touch base a little bit on the subcontracting and contractors that are, being utilized here, right? How do you work? I guess what is kind of the rate of trying them out versus, because they may not deliver the quality that you expect, right? So how do you build that trust? And is it just trial and error and saying, okay, great, this time it didn't work and it was a bad experience. Okay, I'm not going to use them again. Or is it something that you're determining up front and doing, just research on? I guess, could you speak to the subcontracting piece?
Yeah, very good question. Let's start with you, Nick. What would you say? How'd you find your subcontractors? How do you vet them? How do you figure out who you want to work with?
Usually referrals from other people, in there when we started getting into, exterior signs that we couldn't install ourselves. If you remember, I talked about forming relationships with other sign companies. So we started with other sign companies. We got introductions to contractors. I typically use someone on a small job the first time. And the other thing I was doing in the early days is either I was going on the install or I would send my installer with the contractor or my production guy with the contractor as a helper, but also to watch to see how they were doing things. Um, I also put together a script that I require my installers to follow and now my contractors as well. And meaning, you don't just pull up and install the sign and then leave, right? Because people do that. You come in, you go inside, you introduce yourself, you tell them that you're there. We're going to install the sign today. If we need anything, we'll let you know. Can you show me where the power is? Go do the work, come back. Hey, the sign is finished. You want to take a look at it, make everything is okay. Again, that building that interaction with the customer is something that we are making our contractors and our employees do out in the field. And I've had to let contractors go. We've used them once or twice, weren't happy. I think what happens is when there's a mistake, how people react to fix things is an important gauge as well. Clients appreciate that, but I appreciate that if a contractor takes responsibility and gets the job done or makes whatever corrections necessary. I'd rather have everything in-house from a employer and again in the installation area. I just think you're touching the customer almost more than in the sales process, and I want it to be a great customer experience. So I stay on top of my contractors, and if they don't want to do things the way I want them to do it, then we just don't use them.
Very good. Appreciate that response. Pam, you mentioned you got a lot of equipment. You don't outsource much, but you do outsource electrical channel letters. So how do you find contractors and, how do you vet them?
So we outsource them for fabrication. We actually have some that we've worked with for a while. We met a new company we started using last year at ISA. But it's mostly referrals. I mean, yeah, you look at their work, you look at Signworld has a lot of resources, and the people within Signworld have a ton of resources. And you can put a question on any forum and get 4 or 5 answers pretty quickly. But yeah, for things, looking at other sign companies and just call and say, hey, who do you use for this? And 9 times out of 10, they're happy to tell you. So there's always a network around you. You just have to look for it.
Right.
Very good. Ron, you mentioned in the beginning you use a lot of subs. So talk about your world and what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I mean, my mindset, I'll be quick, but my mindset is my 1099s are an employee just like my employees. Obviously, different financial relationship, but I have the same standard for them. One of our core values that we implemented this year was find the best. And, that relates to not only customer, but our contractors, our vendors, and who we're working with. So we have a standard for employees and we have a standard for contractors. And I've fired contractors before because they're just, they're not delivering, they're not being professional. So.
Very good. All right. Well, I do see we're past time here, and I do want to go ahead and wrap this up for today. Before I do, Pam, Ron, and Nick, thank you so much for being on our panel and answering the questions that came forth. We appreciate you being here today, and congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, and can't wait to see what happens in 2026 for all of you. To our attendees, thanks for joining our session today and listening in to what our owners have to say about their businesses and the industry overall. Our team looks forward to continuing the conversations with you and determining if this is the right next step in your future. So with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your Wednesday and month of March. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.